glass up high. Turn it up, it's time. Tallboy on the line. Loud breeze, they will last. Raise your glass up high.
Welcome back to episode 327 of the Tallboy Radio Podcast. And as we always say, who knows where it goes when the beer flows? Well, that beer is going to flow first to the left and then a little bit north. But up first, Gaza, how you keeping, dude?
Yeah, I'm really good today, boys. Evening all, evening the world. I hope you are well out there in listener land, and I hope that you're having a good day and a good night. And again, we've got a guest on tonight. It's a guest that we enjoy having on, and as I say, I'm always sort of really intrigued and piqued by when we have sort of new guests on and they can talk about the things that influence them and their interests and hobbies and everything else. So yeah, really looking forward to this.
Indeed. So we've said hello from one Tallboy, from another Tallboy. Let's get to the third Tallboy. No, it's not Andy. He's not made a strange appearance from the darkness. Stephen, did you want to say hello and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me. I'm Steve from Edinburgh in Scotland, and I'm a songwriter and actor, director sometimes, director of theatre things, and so that's what I do.
Incredible. So I had this idea, of inviting different people on with the same names as ourselves, okay? So I've got an Adam Dickinson who's lined up to talk later in the year once he's got his book published. Gary Pickford's, I'll say this, Gary Pickford's a recalcitrant souls. Can't get a response off one. They're ignorant buggers. But I want to invite other Tallboys as well. So you are from Tallboy Performing Arts. Did you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. I started Tallboy Performing Arts in 2016. Decided to train as an actor. I'd done some amateur musical theatre for about 10 years before that, and then I thought I should actually learn how to do it properly. So I spent a couple of years doing some part-time training at a drama school in Edinburgh called Acting Out Drama School, and from there it just grew. I started to do some screen acting, some stage stuff, some voice acting, and in the background to that, I've always been a songwriter in bands and writing TV themes and things like that, and as well as doing recording original songs, and so that's the kind of ran in parallel for a while. It's more about the songwriting and releasing music as an artist at the moment, but that's in a nutshell what it's all about.
That's brilliant. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I think growing up, you dream of doing stuff like that, don't you? Having your own music. You know, for me to be able to listen to my voice back on Spotify, God help us, other people listen to it as well. But it blows my mind. So to be able to sing a song, perform music, neither of which I can do, must be incredible.
Yeah, no, yes. I hate the voice. I hate the sound of my own voice to start with. So when I listen to these back, I'm like, really? Do I sound like that? In my own mind, all right, steady on. But you know, in my own mind, I'm like, yeah, I hate it, and I love music, and I love singing badly. I'll have to say that very badly. But I love music, and growing up, you know, people used to say, oh, what is it you want to do? I'd love to play the acoustic guitar. I'd love just to pick up a guitar and just be able to strum and sing. And it would be amazing. And I can't do it. And I can't do either. I can't play guitar and I can't sing. So there we go.
Well, we know a man who can. Stephen, you do. So you've got an album out on Spotify at the moment. Did you want to tell us at home about that?
Yeah, sure. So the album's out under my own name, Stephen McDonald, and it's an album called Songs About Love, which I recorded in Pencaitland, which is about 15 minutes from Edinburgh, in 2024. Released it in the summer last year through a label in Glasgow called Last Night from Glasgow, and they're great at pushing the whole Scottish music scene. To be honest, I suppose they've become a bit like Postcard Records, which was the sort of famous label in the 80s, really, in Scotland, and bands like the Bluebells and some of these bands are now on the label, and I managed to persuade them to put my album out through the label last year. So I spent 9 months really since then gigging and trying to get out there and talk about the album, play live. I've done some live on the radio stuff as well, performing, and just trying to get out there as much as I can. But it's a good feeling to have the solo album out. I'm also in a band called Einstein's Wardrobe. I like unusual names for bands, but so we've done a couple of albums, and it's two really good friends of mine that I work with in that band. So we have that as another project that I get involved in, and we play live together occasionally. But the solo thing's taken over the last sort of 9 months really, and I'm really enjoying it. It's great fun, good fun.
Well, I mean, you mentioned that sort of gigging and stuff, and how big a part of your life is that? Is that continuing? Is it a 2 night a week, 3 night a week, 4 night a week thing? Is it a 7 night a week thing? How much does that take over?
I don't gig that often. It's more writing, and it takes a lot of time. I'm writing and rehearsing things most days, but gigging wise, because it's original music, I don't do covers, so it means that
Right.
So it means that I don't do a lot of the sort of typical pub gigs that would be great fun to do, but everyone would be bored because they wouldn't know the songs. So I tend to play a lot of music festivals, and I played in quite a few in Scotland. Although I did make it down to England the last couple of years. I played at Folk East over in Suffolk. Did a couple of played a couple of times at Folk East now, and I'm planning to go down again in August this year. And then just really wherever anyone will have me, really, I'm happy to come down and play. It's always good fun. But recording as well, yeah.
It's fair play. It's fair play. I've got to ask though, where does the name Tallboy come from then? Just out of interest.
Well, partly because I'm tall. I'm 6'4", and when I was trying to get some branding sorted out for the performing arts business, I was speaking to a graphic designer who said, he says, "Well, just tell me things about yourself," and then the height thing came up, and then he started drawing logos with like sort of stick men, a bit like the sort of John Lennon art, from when he was doing all that sort of stick art and Lowry and things like that. So I quite liked it, and then it kind of stuck really, and then I ended up, it was a nice handle to have for the business, and then I used it when I set up a company as well, and which kept the Tallboy thing going with that, and it's been quite good. I mean, I did. Sometimes you do the searches on Spotify and things to try and see if there's names and things. So there were loads of people that were already using Tallboy, and it's the same with again websites and things. I was trying to find the right handle, so I ended up I stuck with Tallboy Performing Arts, and I've been using that for about that's nearly 10 years now.
Wow,
it's a good name. It is a good name, and for those we'll share your link in the show notes. It's a really good logo as well. Actually, it grabbed my attention immediately.
Yeah, the logo's nice. I think the photos. I'm pushing my luck a bit with the photographs on the website now. They're a little bit old now. So we're going to have a website revamp sometime over the next few months, hopefully. So we'll see what people can see what I actually look like now on that, but not to worry.
No, I mean, I'm just looking at it now, and like I say, the Tallboy with the guitar as the B is brilliant, and it does look incredible. One question I wanted to ask was, and I'm curious because I ask lots of people that we have on that write songs and stuff. Where does the inspiration come for your songs, and is it just personal experience? Is it family experience? What influences you in terms of your writing?
A bit of a mixture, really. I think I usually start with lyrics because I usually have something I want to say. So sometimes these things are inspired by family and things. I mean, I think I suppose looking at the album for examples, there was a song called Something Good, which it was the first song on the album, and it was actually inspired by my daughter, and we just having a nice time with my daughter, and that inspired that one. And then I had a song called Bad Decision that was inspired by these sort of typical bad breakup conversations that you have from time to time, and where you're having to break the news that something's not going to happen, and then again, so there's a mixture on the album of songs on the theme of love, but they're not love songs as such. So there's songs about bereavement, there's songs about forbidden love and revenge and things like that, and there's songs about parental, parent and child, and also the usual. You've got to have some breakup songs, on album. And I think in Scotland, any Scottish artist, we're not happy unless we're being miserable about something. So it's so there's always, so even the happy songs have got a little a cynical, miserable twist somewhere.
Yeah, I was going to say even the happy songs are angry. Exactly right. Yeah, okay, I get it. Yeah.
I have to say, though, I've listened to the album, and Bad Decision was my favourite track on there. What that says about me, I don't know.
Well, but that's probably my favourite song on the album, actually, Bad Decision. And I was lucky because I was able to get... there's a hero of mine, I guess, as a songwriter, a guy called James Grant from a band called Love and Money from the 80s, who played some guitar and sang backing vocals on it for me, and he's mentored me a little bit with some of my songs. So it was a massive honour being able to work with him, and then to actually persuade him to play on a song was a bit of a dream come true, really. So that was amazing.
Okay, I can imagine. In terms of, so you go through the process. You've got these songs or thoughts or feelings running through your head. Sort of, talk us through the process in terms of how do you turn that into a record, an album, and so on.
Yeah, sure. Well, so usually the lyrics will usually be the first thing, and I usually find that from a lyric, I'll usually get melody ideas based on the mood of the song. So in some ways I find it easier to write that way rather than write with music first and then to add a lyric. So for me it just works better for me doing it that way. Then what happens is it's a crafting process really after that. It's a bit like I'll do a first draft, but the lyrics are never finished first time round. So usually be 4 or 5 times I'll probably revise the words, and I'll then start doing acoustic versions where I'll maybe play it to peer groups. I'm in a few songwriting groups, a group in North Berwick Songwriters, a group in Glasgow called Secret Coast Songwriters, a group called We Write Songs, and also my bandmates. So I'll play these songs, and they'll say, well, I like these bits, but I'd maybe think that chorus is too wordy, or there's something not quite right. So usually I'll take on feedback, and then and at that point I'll have a good working acoustic version, which I might test run in some live gigs, and then at some point I'll commit to recording once I feel the song's cemented and settled, and I've test run the song in front of various audiences. Then it's time to go in the studio and work on it and get it recorded. And usually by then I've a better idea of how I want it to sound. So I'm currently doing at the moment, I'm doing an acoustic only album, a stripped back album, which is just guitar and vocals, or piano and vocals, but just again something that's very simple in terms of setup, but something that is easier for me to get gigs with, because I can say to people, this is how I sound live, and it's just these acoustic gigs. And so that's, I suppose because I know I'm doing that, some of the writing's driven towards that sort of sound as well.
Yeah. The reason I ask is, I remember years and years and years ago, and I was listening to, I think it was a documentary about Michael Stipe and R.E.M. and he was saying that so Night Swimming, which is sort of it's a beautiful song, but he didn't write those lyrics for that song effectively for that melody, and it's one of his bandmates that went, well, actually those lyrics might fit that. So I was just curious in terms of, do you have this bank of lyrics and do you have this bank of melody, or try and fit them, or is it quite a sort of approach in terms of, what the melody sounds like for each of the sets of lyrics that you write, really? And it was more of that sort of question.
Yeah, sure. I'll often have lyrics because if I start with the lyric, I'll use the lyric to then inspire the melody. So
Right.
it's a strange one because I don't really I very occasionally have melodies only that are kicking about and little phone recordings and things. But it's a strange one because somebody asked me this before, and it's almost like I look at the lyrics on a page and I start to hear melodies. It's a strange
Right.
thing. I don't really understand. Once there's a basic idea that starts, you can then get a bit formulaic about it, and then start to look at a verse has got these sort of notes, and then a different range. The chorus melody will be higher, so the highest pitched song in the highest pitched note in the song is usually in the chorus. So I'll be thinking these group of notes will be where the chorus is, and then you can be a wee bit scientific about it and say, well, there's some notes in the scale I've not used, or some chords I've not used yet in the song. So I'll use this for another section if I need it, and then explore it. And it's a lot of it's trial and error and just working through it, and then seeing what works and discarding what doesn't. And so it's but I've got lots of these voice notes on my phone, loads of them. So a lot of 3 a.m, waking up stressed, and what do? I'll pick up an instrument and I'll start jamming things and just record what I do, just in case I don't remember it in the morning. So it's
Wow.
so there's lots of these sort of recordings on my phone.
And how nice is it? And again, I've got no way of ever experiencing this, but what's that feeling like when you have the lyrics and all of a sudden you hit on the melody and you're like, yes, that's it. That's what it should sound like.
Yeah, it's a great feeling when you feel it all come together. And I think sometimes as well, you often know when you're working on a song if something isn't quite working. Like, for example, if you write a lyric and it doesn't sing very well, you can write something down with what's in your head, and you can type onto a phone or write it on a notepad or something. But you often find that until you actually do it out loud or say it out loud or sing it, you don't know how it feels sometimes, and then sometimes you might come across a line or a phrase that just doesn't. It's harder to sing, or it doesn't feel right. So those are the bits that normally underline and then go back to and rewrite them. And again, it doesn't always have to be a same day thing. Usually, I find that I'll maybe generate some ideas one day. Another day, I'll go back to it and say, well, what jumps out at me from that original set of notes? And usually the first ideas that jump out are the ones that I run with, and then after that it's like a jigsaw. You're just basically putting all these wee puzzle pieces together until you get to a point when you refine it to the point where you think there's nothing else I can change. But it feels great, and I think the best thing is when you hear the final mix or master of your songs. It's a little bit nerve-wracking, when you get something back from mastering, and then when you hear it played, and even I suppose when it's played on the radio, when you hear one of your songs played on the radio, that's an amazing feeling. That's one of the best, actually. So all good.
Wow. I mean, I can't imagine putting some content together, producing something, and putting the melody, putting the music, and then it's almost like a justification for all that hard work you've gone through to then have it then played to a regional, a national, an international audience in terms of the radio. That must be like, wow, what feeling?
It's a long process. So there were songs that I was recording in 2024 that I'd probably been working on since 2021, 2022, and eventually got to the studio, but it wasn't released until halfway through 2025. It was an 8-month lead time for the record label, and because I was getting it pressed on vinyl and things, so there was about 4 months notice I needed to have to start taking pre-orders for that happening, and it's a long time. So songs that I'm starting now is a strange feeling because it might be 2 years before people hear them or in a recorded format, but they'll hear them live, but they won't maybe hear them.
Yeah, so festivals and things like that, they'll hear you sing them, but they won't be able to then get access to them until later on down the line.
It just takes a long time. Yeah.
And being based in Edinburgh, I imagine there's a fair bit of competition because, you got the Fringe Festival there every year. It's known for its performing arts, isn't it, Edinburgh?
It sure is. It's great. August is always... I think the locals have mixed feelings about it because it's really disruptive and the place is so busy. But cynically as well, all the roadworks and things happen before the festival starts, and then as soon as the tourists are around, the place looks perfect. And it's like all the repairs and all the potholes are gone and everything. But yeah, lots of competition. So lots of people travel in with theatre groups and performing groups to stay in Edinburgh during August. And I've done a few shows. I did one as an actor a couple of years ago. Well, no, in fact, it's about 3 or 4 years ago now. I co-directed one that was on 3 years ago and wrote the music and the soundtrack for that one. And this summer, I'm helping with a production. There's some music for a production for a Glasgow theatre school called Acting Coach Scotland. So they're putting something on stage in August. So I'm doing some music for that, some songs and some music and some probably some incidental sound design and things for that. So that should be good fun. But good fun.
We had some grand designs of sort of going to Fringe at one point and sort of bringing our podcast along, and you know what, we'll just hunker down in a back room of a pub somewhere, and if people want to come and join in, and again, it's about celebrating the culture, it's about just going and experiencing it, I suppose. And I've never been to the Fringe, and I would love to go, and I'm not necessarily sure whether I want to go as a podcast host as such, but I'd love to go and experience it, because everybody that I know that's been has said they have such an amazing time, and you go into this place and you've got this going on, you go into that place and you've got that going on, and it literally is just a celebration of everything.
It's really good fun. I think it's nice to do it when you're performing, when you've got something on in the Fringe, because it's you can get quite immersed in the whole experience by doing that. And I was lucky enough when I did it as an actor a few years ago. That was my only work at the time. I was in between jobs. I'd left that job, and actually I had about 6 weeks off, and it was great. So it meant I could do a full rehearsal for a show and then a full run as an actor in the Fringe. So every day I was living that life, and I was just wandering about town, going into watching shows. Catching up, they have various things that they put on in the Fringe, educational things to help actors and directors and filmmakers, everything. They have all these seminars and things that they run, and once you've got your pass for your show, then it gets you into everything. As a performer, you got your pass, and so you can get really immersed in the whole thing. It's great.
Yeah. So I was going to say, so do you then draw, in those experiences, do you draw inspiration, and you get to go and hear lots of people and see lots of people and experience lots of things, and is that an inspiration for you then that you can then draw upon in your own work, in your own music, in your own life and such?
Yeah, it's great. And actually you get ideas for how shows work as well, because sometimes with something like the Fringe, it can be quite expensive for people to come up and stay and perform as a group. So people that have to travel, a company that has to travel up, sometimes the simpler the setup you have, the better. And it's amazing. You see how people manage to create these shows that don't need much in the way of props. It doesn't need much in the way of numbers of people. You see these 1-2 person shows that they've got all this working really well. So I suppose it teaches you how to work, do the basics very, very well. So you can do something that you can take anywhere. You can drive about in a car and set up and do something in somewhere that's a smaller venue anywhere, really, if you can do a Fringe show. So pretty good.
Play. A friend of ours, funnily enough, he went up and he did the Edinburgh Fringe. Remember Mark Weaver?
I do remember that, yeah.
Yeah, so him and some of his friends, they had this idea for and I'm going to use the inverted commas here for our audio listeners, comedy production of this idea of a nurse who was poisoning people with salt into their drips and murdering. Yeah. And then the news broke about 2 weeks before they went. That somebody was actually doing that.
Was that Lucy Letby case? Was that? But yeah, so literally, like they went there with this idea, and then that actually happened. So unlucky with that.
So they thought we can't do that now. We had 2 weeks with all the venues booked to come up with this new play. And bless him, Mark. He's a lovely fella, but a playwright he ain't.
No.
Yeah. So I mean, in terms of yourself, then, like, so you love, you love your performing and what have you.
Yeah.
What were you doing before then, if you don't mind my asking?
Yeah.
How did it segue into it?
Well, I suppose I've been performing for probably since I was about 16. So I'll give away my age, but for over 40 years now I've been doing it. So, but I've also trained as a solicitor. So I've had 30 years as a lawyer as well. So in some ways, I realized that even when I tried to go completely full time as a performing arts professional, I realized that it wasn't going to pay the bills, to be honest, because it's very, very difficult. So I've always had the other career as well, or for the last nearly 30 years, I've had the other career as well. And so it allows me I suppose it gives me the financial stability to help me fund the other things, but also it means that I think sometimes I know lots of people who are full time and good luck to them, but I think they really, really find it hard to do it full time because it becomes more and more difficult to earn money from music. If you're doing if you're doing a covers thing 4 nights a week or wedding band or something like that, you can make reasonable money doing it. If you're relying on writing your own songs and streaming income, then you're not going to make very much. You're going to have £1,000 for every million streams or something like that. So it's not going to. It doesn't really. It's very hard to make money from music unless you're doing live work.
Yeah, I mean, I remember this is a couple of years ago now. I enjoy golf. I play a lot of golf, and we went up to Inverness, and there was 3 or 4 bars and stuff, and there were guys gigging in these bars, and it's the same in every in every major city sort of thing, and you think if they're picking up I don't know what 300, 350, 400 quid a night gigging, and they're doing that 3 or 4 nights a week, then actually that's okay, and as long as you haven't got you can do that. But if you were then singing effectively original songs that nobody can then get involved with, and there's no vibe, for want of a better phrase, that becomes very difficult, I suppose.
Yeah, it is difficult because you usually find that you're restricted to festivals, which are great fun. Music festivals are a lot of fun, but but the cash isn't there really, so it's a bit more difficult. And but at the same time, there are lots of ways you can get involved, and you can get involved. I've started getting involved more in helping other people write songs now, and I used to do things like voice coaching and helping people learn using acting techniques to train people how to do public speaking and things like that. So so that's quite a good thing to do. So I did some. The hardest audience I had actually was a room full of what they call solicitor advocates in Scotland. So they're a bit like barristers in England, and so probably the vainest group of people I've ever had to work with, and I couldn't teach them anything apparently until we started working with them, and I made them stand up and do vocal exercises and all these kind of things, and then so the arms started to unfold and things, and they started to listen to me eventually. But that kind of thing, I used basically a technique which is a mix of voice acting, screen acting, and stage stuff. So for presentation skills, you need a bit of everything really. So I use these techniques with people like, it was law firms and accountants and various kind of business professionals who were doing a lot of public speaking. So and a bit of one-to-one coaching I've done for that kind of thing as well. Which
Right,
so
wow.
so you can apply these techniques to like a business context in a way, and help people who are not actors, but they need to know some of these skills. So it's quite an interesting way of doing it, and that's quite well paid, that kind of work as well.
How do you go about teaching somebody how to songwrite then? How does that work? Because you could talk to me and say, right guys, like, you're going to write a song. I'm like, am I? Like, how do I could write a great song. Don't you shake your face. I've got lots of life experiences I could go through, but how does that happen? How do you teach somebody how to write a song as such?
Yeah, I mean, usually the first thing I would say to them is to journal. So to basically write down what they're feeling about things. So maybe every day for about a week, maybe keep a diary or something. But just literally spend 20 minutes a day just doing a brain dump of how you're feeling about things. It could be things you're seeing on TV. It could be things you've noticed, or it could be like a painting you've seen, or it could be a book you've been reading, or anything like that. Just write down, and I get people to think about when they come back with their notes about sensory things. So things like think, see, hear, smell, touch, taste, and what's going on around it. So imagine this is like a snapshot of. So I'll say to you for your first song, right? Take a photograph, or find a photograph of something that inspires you, so that makes you feel something, and then write down all the sensory things. So imagine yourself in the picture, and think, well, where am I? Where is this? And then write down the sights, the smells, what you're hearing around, what's going on around you, and then how also feelings, because feelings are really important. So write down all the things that these images make you feel, and then that's your starting point. So from there, it's some people I'd interested in when I was doing a songwriting thing with there's an English singer, Laura Marling, and I was doing an online thing over Zoom, and there was a group of writers, and we were working with her, and she was basically giving us paintings and saying, right, this is your inspiration and this is your theme, so go away and basically write that, tell the story that's in this picture and this painting. So that's a nice way of doing it as well, and it's amazing how quickly you can get ideas. And then when it comes to there's very simple ways of writing songs. You could decide you're going to write 3 4-line verses, and you can have a rhyming scheme that works, like Mary Had a Little Lamb, for example. Everyone knows that, what they call meter, that common meter. So you can have 3 verses in common meter, and if your words fit that, then you've got a simple structure, and have a title line at the bottom of each of those 3 verses. And then a lot of people, it's a great way to start doing their first song. Simple thing, and it's and then once you've got words, you can experiment with the music around that. But the sort of stage 2 bit. But that's how I would start if I was doing it from scratch again.
So is it the I suppose the emotional response to a stimulus? Is that more what you're after? So I don't know. What did I not necessarily what did I see, but how did I feel? How did I feel? What did that make me feel? So is it the emotional response that's more the first thing?
Definitely, because usually you'll find that if something's going to be relatable to a listener, if you're writing a song, then if you feel something, there's a good chance that they're going to feel something as well.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's gold. That kind of thing is gold when it comes to writing songs. It's if you think of how you felt when you saw that painting, or you experienced something, then that's your starting point. That's your starting point.
And if that's a shared, if somebody else has seen that, then they will. It's that shared. Well, you felt like that, but I might feel like this, or but there's a connection to that emotional response.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is, I mean, when someone listens to a song, they don't see, unless they maybe see an album cover or something, or a bit of artwork, then all you've really got is the music and the words. So you have to paint that picture with the words and the music. So for the words, it's probably good to set your scene, to sort of give a hint to where you are, so the person can imagine them. It's a bit like having the wide shot, in a film where somebody takes the camera and they see this wide shot of exactly what's going on from that perspective, so people can imagine where this story is happening, and then a mix of sensory description of what's going on, and how it makes you feel, and also maybe what other people are saying and things like that. Then that just brings in all kinds of interest, and that's really, for me, that's I usually, melodies always usually hook you because you hear something catchy.
Sure.
But then so often find as well that with choruses, my favourite bands are bands like the Bluebells in Scotland. The Bluebells write very simple choruses, so usually they've got a title line that repeats and repeats and repeats, and so by the time you get to chorus 2, you already know the chorus because it's easy to remember. If somebody writes somebody like a Nashville trend just now, everybody's writing these 8 to 10 line choruses, and how are you going to remember these songs? It's like you'll remember one line or something, but you're not going to learn 8 lines or something and remember it by the time the song's finished. It's like you might know a bit more, but for me, the simplest hooks, the choruses are the bits that people want to sing along with and grab quickly, and then the verses will just tell the story and everything else that's going on, and people don't have to learn those words, but they want to join in the chorus. So a few tips for you.
So are there like, and again, excuse my ignorance as such, but are there trends in terms of songwriting whereby the chorus or the verse might be longer or shorter or more memorable or less memorable, and is that like cyclical, and you're going short verses, long verses, short verses, long? How does that work?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a skill in saying and using as few words as you can to get your message over, and usually you find that, I mean, I think in pop music just now, there's a real trend in people writing what's called very static sounding verses. So they'll maybe have a small number of notes. The whole melody will be made up of notes that are very close together, and it'll sound like it's the same note. I think people like I suppose like Sam Fender's probably a good example. He does it quite well. So he's got these very static verses, but then the choruses are quite dramatic shifts in pitch and things, so they're much bigger sounding when it gets to the chorus. Sure. And it's so you usually find that in pop music there's lots of this sort of static melody, and Taylor Swift does it lots, this very static melody, and then you have this big anthemic chorus which comes in, and so pop music does that. Nashville's kind of it's kind of similar now because there's a lot of crossover into pop with the country and pop, and there's a lot of crossover, except a lot of the writers are doing these big long choruses for some reason at the moment, which I can't fathom. But it seems to be working though for a lot of people.
So was it country and folk? What was your inspiration? So was it country and folk? Sorry, it sort of got you into
got
it.
Me into it. No, do you know what? It was actually 80s. I grew up in the 80s and used to love a lot of bands. I mean, I suppose the first albums I bought were by the Police. The first couple of Police albums, and just really strong melodies. And then I got more into some of the post-punk stuff in Scotland, like the Skids and Big Country and things like that. And then I got into a lot of the sort of synth bands like OMD and I suppose then Tears for Fears, early Tears for Fears work, and nice. And then probably towards the end of the 80s, I got more into a lot of the local music in Scotland. So there was a time where everybody was signing Scottish bands. So it was like, Simple Minds and Hue and Cry and Deacon Blue and all these bands, So I was into a lot of that stuff. And then when I got into the 90s, it was more did like a lot of the indie pop stuff that was happening around, Oasis. Didn't really like Blur, but I liked Oasis and
we see you've gone there.
Yeah.
You've gone Oasis, Blur. You see, you've alienated half of our listeners now by doing that. I'm joking, by the way, but yeah,
No.
that indie scene was incredible, wasn't it?
It was great. It was the whole of the 90s, that whole indie thing. There was so much good stuff happening, and then it's strange because it seemed to, since about 2000, less bands. It's all about solo artists now, and hardly any bands have a number one now, and things like that. So it's more about the solo artists and things now. But it's that's why I'm liking the Scottish scene just now, because the Scottish scene is there's lots of bands and lots of local bands. So I tend to play more in Glasgow because there's a lot more going on musically through in Glasgow with the band scene. So
it's strange because from my very uninitiated sort of perception, the bands don't exist anymore. People that can play instruments and it's all just there's no musicality as such. It's just I hate the phrase sort of Britpop, but it's those manufactured bands and groups that they're not the guitar players, the piano players, the bass players. That doesn't exist anymore, and it's such a shame because everything just seems manufactured. That you have to get back to that really raw music that was inspiration for these bands coming up in the first place.
That's right. I mean, there are lots of bands doing it, but the thing is that no one hears about them because they're very dependent on specialist shows. There were a couple of shows on BBC Radio Scotland where I got played in one of the songs was played last year on one of those shows, and you hear a lot of local music, and it's good. And the problem is with Radio 1, Radio 2, it takes a lot of money to plug your music to get played on these stations. So somebody I know was telling me that it's something like £3,000 per week for a song to plug a song for BBC. And
really?
And it's that's per week. That's crazy money to try and when you had to think of the cost of your album, it might cost you 10 to 20 grand to record an album, and then if you then got to spend $3,000 a week on plugging, it's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, it's an expensive business. That is absolutely.
It is.
So, you've given us a few tips there on songwriting, and do you know what? Really, really useful. Whether we'll go away and
Tallboy Radio song in the future.
we should rewrite rather than having AI do our theme music. Me and you will record a version of it.
Oh my god, I hate to think what that might look like.
I hate to think what it would sound like.
Yeah, absolutely.
But send it to me for feedback. You can send it to me if you want me to look at anything. If you do have a go, get in touch and let me hear it.
Oh, there'll be lots of feedback on it. Don't you worry about that.
But in all seriousness, though, I mean, someone like myself and Gaz, who our vocal range is limited at best, how would you go about training someone like us then to sing?
I think really working out the limits and things, but you also
we're very limited.
Well, it's interesting because I get vocal coaching as well, because I think most people who I suppose who do coaching usually have mentors as well. So it's like I have a singing coach who she's a Scottish artist called Siobhan Miller. She's a brilliant artist and amazing singer, and but she helps me, and she helped me with my range because there's lots of vocal exercises you can do that help with that, because it's a bit like going to the gym. It's like I don't really go to the gym now, but it's like I remember what it was like when I did go to the gym, and it was like and it's like when you're training muscles. I've got my dartboard and
there's nothing wrong with darts. There's nothing wrong with darts, by the way. Darts is absolutely fine.
Well, that was a sport I took up at Christmas. Somebody said you should take up a sport, so I thought I'll take up darts, So it was like, it's like I'm not doing any strenuous exercise. I'll play darts instead. And but singing is like it's using muscles, and you can train your voice to gradually get more used to pushing higher or lower, and you can target where your voice breaks at the top and bottom end of your range, so that it can just take a bit more. And it's amazing how with a bit of training on breathing techniques, various vocal techniques, you can actually increase the whole range and sound better. And it doesn't take much to get someone sounding better.
So genuinely, can you teach somebody to sing? Because I think I can go quite low, I can go quite high. It's funny because my youngest daughter, she's got an incredible voice. She doesn't get a musicality from me as such. But I say to her, I said, "Do you think I can sing?" And she went, "Well, yeah, just not as you do at the moment." I'm like, "Well, thanks very much for that." But, so I think I've got quite low, quite high, but I can't hit the notes. So she's went, "You can go really high, and you can go really low, but it's just finding the notes in between." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm terrible at that."
You can often that people have preferred keys to sing in, so that you normally find that somebody will know that with a bit of trial and error that a lot of their songs are maybe within a range of about 14, 15 notes or something, and sometimes people have maybe no more than about an octave, about 12 note range, and it's a bit like, I suppose, for me, I mean, I've helped some people improve singing. I'm never going to be the best singer in the world. I'm never going to be the best vocal coach in the world. But at the same time, so there will be people who sing better than me that I'll be trying to help. But I suppose it's a bit like football managers, I guess. Sometimes these guys are not the best players, but they can get get good players to play better. And it's just a little bit of finding little ways of helping improve performances, and you can usually pinpoint ways that you can get improvement quite quickly. I'd love to pinpoint how I can do that, because I'm driving in my car and it's weird because in my mind I can sing beautifully. But if I turn the radio down and I just sing the lyrics, oh my God, I'm like a drowning cat. Like, and it's weird because I love music. I love singing. I love music. Like I say, my youngest daughter is incredibly talented, and we'll try to sing along together. We're in the car, we go on road trips, and we play music and all of that sort of thing. And she is incredible. And genuinely, I'm a little bit biased, but she is incredible. Great.
And I'm terrible. So she's incredible and I'm terrible. So we've got the balls together, but I'd love to be able to sing, and I can go really, really high, and I can go really, really low. Whether they're in the right order, the right timing, I've got no idea.
Yeah, it's just also
high makes everybody low.
A lot of it's practice and learning technique, and it's a bit like playing instruments. It's the same thing, really. It's like if you went to a piano and you started playing without knowing what to do, it's not going to sound great, but with a little bit of direction, then you can learn some simple things, and then before you know it, with a lot of repetition and a lot of practice, then once you master that bit, try the more difficult stuff, and it's always bit by bit. It's like doing a live set. For when I started playing guitar live, I was never. It was only maybe 5 years ago I started playing guitar properly, and I played keyboard instruments. So when I was trying to do some of these acoustic gigs, the first time I did a solo thing, absolutely crumbled. I could sing with my band and confidently sing, no problem. But then I had to do a solo thing where I was singing and playing a guitar at the same time, and it was like a windy day outside. I didn't know my words very well, so I had words which kept on getting blown away.
No,
everything that could have gone wrong went wrong, and I learned that the best way to work, and again, it's from advice from mentors I've worked with, is to say, right, okay, work on things in 15-minute blocks. 15 minutes of songs. That's one block, and just get that to the point where it becomes almost automatic, and then another 15, and then so you've gone from your 15-minute block, which is maybe your open mic set, to your half-hour block, which is like a support slot for somebody, and you got 2 blocks working well, which you can mix up. So your 45 minutes an hour set, where you've got your feature set where you're headlining, and if you build it in blocks like that, then you improve a lot, and it means when you come to playing live, it just works better, and you can be more confident when you're doing it, and when you're more confident, then everything just kind of works better. And if you get something wrong, the crowd are on your side because they can see that you're rehearsed and you're doing your best.
Yeah. So you're saying there's a chance?
That's not what I said to you. To be clear, for most people, yes. For yourself,
steady on.
Time to hang up that ambition. But for yourself, then, what are your goals? What are your ambitions? Where do you want to take this?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to get to the point where I can sustain a career without having to have other work as well, and so I could be full time as a musician. Really, I'd like to be full time as a musician, and in the meantime, it's really just keep on writing and recording and putting out music. And I've done the first solo album, so the next batch of songs, I'm looking forward to getting them out and recorded as soon as I can. It'll probably be later this year or the start of next year, possibly, by the time that happens. But it's the songs are there. It just needs to be a bit of commitment to recording them is the next thing, and then just see what happens after that. Really, carry on trying to get better gigs, more festival gigs, support slots, and then just see what happens. Really, but it's whatever. It's all good fun. It's all enjoyable. It's there's the worst bit of it is all the kind of boring corporate stuff, and dealing with have to deal with your accounts and all the other stuff that goes with it. That's the worst part of it, and less of that and more of the performing would be good.
Well, one question I was going to ask was, you hear lots and lots of bands that are on the scene at the moment, and go back 10 years. I say my daughters were hugely into sort of One Direction and Taylor Swift and all of that sort of thing. So, and you hear something, it's like, well, they didn't write the songs, so those songs were written by somebody else.
Yeah.
So how does that synergy happen? How does, for example, Steve McDonald is a songwriter. He writes a song for One Direction or Taylor Swift, or how does that? Like, what's the process of them finding that song and you writing for them?
Well, I'd love to know that too, actually, to be honest.
Right. Okay. I don't know. How do you write a song
No.
for somebody else?
In all seriousness, it's like there are different ways. You can be sent what they call briefs for songs. Again, it's been involved in songwriting circles where somebody maybe has a publishing deal and somebody's saying so and so is looking for a song at the moment, and they're taking submissions. So by the end of the week, send
your songs in.
Send to Universal or Warner's or something like that, and then they'll see what they're looking for, and I think sometimes it just depends. It's often who you know and who you end up working with, and for me, it's I've done songs that I've co-written songs that other people have recorded, and but in other indie artists though, so nobody major. I've done a few things like TV themes that have been briefs, that have come and have ended up on being used, but that kind of thing. A lot of people are now using platforms to try and get sync deals to have their songs placed on TV and film and things like that. So again, it's different ways you can do that. It's usually, or it could be a film that's looking for a bespoke bit of music. And I pitched for these things before, and you know, on the whole, you don't really hear much coming back unless it's something that that they really want. If they want it, you'll know about it. But for me, it's been mostly indie artists that have wanted to maybe me to help them finish their songs for an album track or for a single they wanted to release, and that's, to be honest, that's really it's quite rewarding. Doing that kind of writing, because you just never know who the next big artist might be, and if you're working with somebody who's indie now, they might have a hit, and then you already know them. So it's things like that, I think, are I know people that have been in the industry for 30, 40 years, so they're obviously very well connected by now, and they're doing lots of things. I've probably been more in the out with working with my own band probably only the last 4 or 5 years, trying to do more co-writing out with my own work. So it's a bit of a slow burn, but I think the key is just to keep writing. And for one of my songwriter friends who's worked with people like Bieber and Ariana Grande and people like that, his thing is that he'll maybe write 100 songs a year. Probably 10 of them, you'll get some kind of deal with about 10 of them, and of those, probably maybe 2 or 3 will make reasonable money, and what one could be like a major artist, and it's like but there's a lot of writing though too. So percentage wise, it's a small percentage you're getting through, but and there's so much competition. But you just keep going, and then you hope that yours is the next one.
You never know. You never know.
You never know.
Yeah, if you don't do it, it certainly won't be. That's the truth of it.
Yeah.
So
what
about the acting and the directing then? Is that something you want to do more of? And where would you like to take that?
Yeah, I've always enjoyed it. I took a back seat for a few years. I started getting on stage again last year. I took about a 3-year break from doing stage shows and things. But last year, I ended up doing a show in Edinburgh that was, it was based on, there's a Scottish writer called Stephen Christopher, who's a bit, I suppose, style-wise, it's a bit like Irvin Welsh, for people like Trainspotting and that kind of thing. Yeah. And because he was also from Leith, so a lot of the stories were based in the same sort of area, and 90s sort of scene, I suppose, that kind of happy hardcore scene and things like that. So there were so I did a show last year with some other actors, and all of his plays are 10-minute. They're all 10-minute plays, and so what we did 4 and created one show out of this this thing. So I suppose it's probably a Fringe show length type show that we did, and great fun, because I got to almost play I suppose it was a bit like a Scottish Liam Gallagher type character, which was great fun. Fantastic fun. It's the best excuse to swear I've had on stage. Playing this character, it was wonderful and great fun. And then in contrast, I've just started working on a show just now. It's again, complete contrast to that. I'm doing some Greek theatre for a few months, which is a version of Antigone, it couldn't be more different from what I was working on last term. But I'm doing, after I finish this thing in May, I'm starting to work on the music for this Fringe show. So that'll probably take me a few months to work with the cast and the director, and trying to get an idea what they want. And then during the rehearsals in July, it'll be quite full on. I'll be getting videos and notes sent every night from rehearsals saying, I need a 30-second bit of music for this, or I need a 1-minute thing or some sound effects for this part, or whatever. And usually you find that doing that, it's pretty much every night until the show starts, once the rehearsals start. So I'm expecting a busy July and then it's a full run in August. But I'll not be on stage for that. I'll just be giving them sound files, and then I'll go along and help them with a few of the performances and just enjoy it. But
so there must be quite a lot of pressure for that then, in terms of then coming back to you saying we need this and we need this and we need this. That must be quite almost like a time limited, time restricted sort of thing.
Absolutely. It's quite a stressful exercise, because and I think the more that you can have pre-prepared before the rehearsals start, the better, because so as soon as you get hold of a script, it's a case of forcing the director to have a conversation with you about what they're thinking about it in terms of what they think they're going to need, because usually gut feeling before they start these rehearsals, they often don't get into too much detail on the script until the rehearsals start, because you have basically full-time actors that are there 8 hours a day for 4 weeks preparing for a show which they're being paid for, and then they'll do a full run of the Fringe after that. So I usually find that it's a case of I get copious amounts of notes in the evenings, after the day of rehearsals, and then I'm often logging in, switching on the laptop and working 2 or 3 hours every night, working on edits and things until the list of notes gets shorter, and then somebody will change their mind in the last week, saying that this 30-second piece needs to be 45 seconds, and so honestly, you're cursing them, but at the same time, it's when you actually see it in the show, and then you see how it's all works. It's actually it's a great feeling watching it, watching the completed version, and just be able to sit and enjoy it. It's really nice. So I quite like doing.
I can imagine just you've been involved in something. You've gone through the process. You've been putting into it, and then to watch that in reality. It must be quite a satisfying feeling, really, to think I've had an input into that, and I've had a part of that, and the crowd are reacting positively, and everybody's enjoying it.
Yeah, I mean, I think as well, when you have these initial conversations to plant the seeds about what you might need, and this show, I think, is going to be about. Well, I'm told it's about pirates. I can't say any more than that, but it's like but pirates.
Come on, you can tell us more. Come on, you can.
So it was apparently about. I think that they're about female pirates, and so I don't. But this that's all I know, and so immediately I'm thinking, what kind of sounds? So I'm thinking it's going to be like it's going to be sea shanties.
Your dirty mind there, you laugh then. Your dirty mind then.
You got me. Yeah, you got me. You called me on it.
Yeah, so I mean, it's going to be sea shanties, and it's going to be, but it's also going to be the kind of thing that I suppose if it's people in a cast that if you're on a pirate ship, you're not going to have hundreds of instruments and things, so it's mostly going to be songs that are just voice and beats and things like that. So that's what I'm thinking straight away. And but things with sing-along sections that are easy to pick up for an audience or things. So that's really so my gut feeling from like getting 2 sentences from a director is like this is where my mind goes with that, and then I just need to know how long it is, how much they want in terms of singing, if they want it at all. If they don't want it, they just want music. Really easy, so it's not you can have maybe 3 or 4 pieces of music which for different moods that just repeat, or versions of them repeat, and it's just there's a big audio editing exercise which will happen on and off for probably 4 weeks, and then it's job done, really. So it's a lot of pressure, but it's a fun thing to do as well.
I mean, the one thing we've learned tonight is it's certainly very varied, the things that you do. You know what I mean? It's all over, it's all over the different performing arts.
Yeah.
And certainly you seem skilled and
a lot of them.
And I think I just listened to this episode. I think people will have learned a thing or two. I can promise you this. Yeah, no doubt. I can promise you this, though. I'm up in Edinburgh at the end of May, the very tail end of May. If you happen to be performing anywhere on that last weekend, I promise I will make my way to come and see you.
Yeah, well, actually, there is a gig on the 30th of May in Haddington, which is about 20 miles from the from Edinburgh, and it's part of there's a festival called Hadstock, which is a brilliant name for a festival, Hadstock, and it's
Nice.
on so all afternoon there's a group of songwriters from North Berwick. They're doing from about 11 o'clock. There's a songwriting workshop at 11 in the morning, and then there's various performances. And I'm doing like a headline set about 5 o'clock. Once all that's finished, so I'll probably be there for about 6-7 hours in one place. But I'll let you know when it is if you're around that weekend, because it's actually a really good it's a good festival.
I am, yeah. So my cousin, whose birthday it is today, so happy birthday, Bo.
Happy birthday, Bo.
Who's over from Texas, and a couple of his friends. We're starting off in London, and we're heading we're finishing Edinburgh on that weekend. Yeah. So I come home on the train on the 1st of June. So yeah, we'll head over to that. We'll have a few beers, and we'll listen to music. Yeah,
definitely. I'll send you over the info, and it's always a good festival. It's a nice wee town that's. I see it's not far from Edinburgh. You're looking about sort of 20 minutes in the car from Edinburgh, so it's not too bad.
Nice. Yeah. Something to look forward to. So listen, we normally wrap these things up round about the hour mark. So just before we let you go, did you want to share your website or anything else that you want to share for our listeners? And we'll add it into the show notes as well.
Yeah, sure. The main one is the Instagram account, which is just at Tallboy Performing Arts, and there's. If you find me on Facebook, just under Stephen McDonald Songwriter, you find my music and things on there. There is a YouTube channel with under my own name, which is a mix of there's some screen acting stuff on there, some videos, and I'll be doing some acting and a lot of music on there, which is quite good. They're the main ones, I guess, and the website is tallboyperformingarts.co.uk. It needs updated, but it's there if anyone does want to have a look at it.
Oh, it's good. And listen, if anybody ever looks at the stuff that we put out on the internet, there's a reason why we always use caricature pictures of ourselves and not the real thing.
Yeah, but I don't have to use the caricature of me without a tooth. He keeps using that, and I keep telling him not to, but he does. So I'm gonna have to have a look at it. But look, honestly, Stephen, it's been an absolute blast. I mean, the hour has flown by. I can't believe we've been an hour in.
Can't believe it.
I genuinely sort of enjoyed your insight into songwriting and lyrics and melodies and everything else. And
thank you.
And I'm hoping that Adam does get the opportunity to come and see you. I unfortunately I'm not available. I'm an avid golfer, so I'm golfing in the Scottish Highlands at the time that Adam is hosting his cousin and stuff, Bo, who but yeah, I hope he enjoys his time, and look, if you get to hook up, then that is incredible. But no, just a massive thank you from me, because I've thoroughly enjoyed this last hour.
No, thank you very much for having me. I've really enjoyed it as well. And if you're in Edinburgh at all, anytime, whether it's if it's for the festival, if you do decide to come to Edinburgh in August at some point to watch some shows and things like that. But yeah, it'd be good to meet in person as well. Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, it'd be incredible.
Yeah, we should look at doing that. We've said it
for the last couple of years, haven't we? Only we should really, and whether we're brave enough to do it, we'll wait and see.
I'm not about doing the show. I was thinking he was going.
Okay, fair enough. Oh no, we'll do that. Yeah, we'll do that definitely.
Well, no, listen, Stephen. Thank you very much for sharing an hour of your time with us. I really appreciate it. I know the listeners out there will appreciate it too, because you've shared a few little gems and a few little features that people could enjoy.
Thank you so much.
No worries. So take care.
Take care. Cheers now. See ya.
Friends around the mic, kicking back, alright. Day turns into night, podcast in the spotlight. Sipping on that brew, talking